So there are a few artifacts that are going on display after we finish construction that our curator Shannon is working on right now. So let's go take a look at some of those. Hey Shannon!
What? Oh, it's you. What brings you to my lair, Chuck?
So this is one of the artifacts that's going to go back out on display, right?
Yes, and actually it's not going back out on display, Chuck. It is going on display for the first time. This was in our storage and it was completely ruined. It was a mess. All of these little pieces were everywhere. You couldn't tell what was what. Really, honestly, it was one of those artifacts that was kind of close to, if we're not going to use it, it needs to go because it is in such poor condition. A man named Jim Harris, he changed our lives. He was one of our amazing volunteers who's extremely talented. I basically just gave him this with a bunch of little pieces in it, scattered everywhere, and he put it back together.
So to him, it probably looked like a box with a bunch of toys in it.
It probably looks like, yeah, or like, I don't know, some weird model. I'm not really sure. I know that he looked at the, if you will, like the glue shadows for all the pieces. And that's how he was able to figure out where everything went. But I mean, like some of the walls were down.
So can you tell us about what this model shows?
This model shows mission control during the Apollo era, which, like, if you're like me and I have no space background before I came here.
No one's like you, Shannon.
No one's like
You're great.
That's right. Thank you. If you're like me, you only knew about mission control, the one room, and, you know, Houston, we have a problem, and failure is not an option, and all that. So you just knew this one spot right here. But mission control was so much more. And that's what's cool about this model because it shows that. So you have the viewing area, you have like the projection room, they called that the back cave. It shows the back rooms. When you read about, if you've ever read Chris Kraft's book or Gene Kranz, when they talk about the simulations that were going on, when they were simulating every single possible potential thing that could ever go wrong in space, that's what these back rooms were. They were creating the havoc, much like I do here at the Cosmosphere.
Creating the havoc.
Yes, that's what I do.
We need that as like a sticker to put on your door or something like that.
That's right. That's what I do.
Can we take off this cover and see see what's inside?
Let's take off the cover.
So we've got the cover off of this now. So what's your favorite part of this?
Well, obviously my favorite part is this part because that's the part that Spaceworks and I worked on during the restoration. But, you know, one of the cool things about my job that you're extremely jealous of, Chuck, is that when we do stuff like that, it's an opportunity. Like, that's when I read Chris Kraft's book, when we were working on that. So, like, you get to learn stuff while you're doing it. And Chuck, you and I are nerdy enough to enjoy things like that. I feel like I can say that about you and not offend you.
I am pretty nerdy.
Oh my gosh, my phone is ringing.
The phone's ringing. Why is your phone ringing?
Who is it?
Shut up, go away. Yeah, you
Enjoy.
can call me nerdy anytime.
Oh, okay, right. I didn't think that was offensive to call you nerdy. You know, history degree people unite. The interesting thing to me about Mission Control is that this front row was called the trench, which I'm always like, that's cool, man. I'd totally be in the trench. I'm not one of those suits in the back. But then they did such complex math in the trench and made life or death decisions for the crew that I wouldn't be there either. Basically, I wouldn't
History degree.
That's right. I'm not working in Mission Control at all. But yeah, so to find out what each console did, all the different consoles had different jobs. And, you know, like this Mission Control looks very clean compared to when you see pictures of Mission Control during an actual mission.
Oh, like yellowed because of all the smoke and everything?
Right. There's, you know, heaping ashtrays and everything, you know, it was really before the digital era, so everything is in booklets and binders, and there's binders everywhere. And then there's people sitting behind the person, like the person who's actually working is in the chair, but the crew that came on after them or before them is sitting there. And then, like, if something really cool was happening, even if it wasn't your shift, you just hang out in there because they were nerds too. So yeah, the pictures of Mission Control, and then when you look at it, it's very cool.
mission control was pretty much their life.
Right. I guess that's the other reason I wouldn't work at Mission Control, because I'm not willing to put in 20-hour days.
Yeah, you got kids and stuff.
That's right. I'm busy. But, and I like to watch TV and things like that. They clearly didn't have the same passions I have, like TV. So, yeah, they worked like long hours. And they say the average age of a mission controller was 26, I believe.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being, what were you doing when you were 26?
I was 23 when I started working here.
Oh my gosh, Chuck, I've known you since you were in your early 20s.
That's right.
Oh my goodness.
I was basically not an adult when we first met.
But, so like you were kind of in that age group.
Yeah.
Kind of. So can you imagine doing complex math and having to be right to be sure that the crew will survive and not slingshot past the moon into oblivion and never to return?
I'm just going to stop you after complex math. Yeah. I got a history degree for a reason.
That's right. Humanities unite. So the model will go next to our mission control console, and that will be as you're walking into our Moonshot Gallery on the left. So one of the things we talked about when we started talking about redoing our what you and I call our Apollo Gallery, it doesn't really, I mean, it does talk about the moon landing, but it doesn't talk about, like right now, where does it talk about the moon landing in our current Apollo Gallery? It's kind of glazed over,
You
right?
got to dig, yeah.
I mean, you know, like here's the moon rock. It came from Apollo 11. But
well, what about Apollo 11?
Right, exactly. So I think Moonshot helps us hone in on that the goal of Apollo was to get to the moon.
Yeah.
So
for more about the Moonshot Gallery, we posted a video last week, I believe, about that. So for more about the Moonshot Gallery, look a little ways back on all of our socials, and you'll see that on there. So
put a link to the bottom or something. Can't you do that? I don't know. Did I say that right?